Hello and welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast post-match reaction, sponsored by NordVPN. If you want the best discount code available from your NordVPN plan, you can use the link in the description down below. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by a glum-looking Frankie Maguire. Frankie, how are you, mate?
I'm always quite glum looking usually. So it's just my natural state of being.
How's things? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Not feeling the best at the moment, so I think there must be something going around. It's that life is so good for Aston Villa fans at the moment with the football that we're seeing, except maybe today, that I feel like the gods have struck us all with an illness at the moment to make us not feel too great. But yeah,
we abandoned the post-match show for Wickham in the week because I had tonsillitis. I've got over that, and yesterday I woke up with a cold and a cough. So when it rains, it pours. I will blow my nose at some point. I will sneeze at some point. Apologies for the voice, probably deeper than usual. But kind of all ties in, doesn't it, Frankie, with how we're all feeling towards that result? Very glum, very kind of what may have been. Just generally, before we get into any specifics, how do you assess what you've seen this Sunday afternoon?
It's a very rare occasion in the Unai Emery near 2-year spell where I've come out of a game feeling like I didn't like what I saw at all. I actually really didn't like this game at all. I thought from the first 10 minutes, even when we were quite dominant, I mean, we had probably double the possession of Ipswich, I'd imagine, in large spells of this game. There's a really fine line between being composed and in control and then being too casual.
Yeah.
And I think there were too many times today it just went into casual mode. It was almost like we can just outplay them, we'll retain it. And what was happening was that all throughout the game, in very weird areas of the pitch, we were just making sloppy passes, sloppy decisions, not really alive to things, not awake. And then just not really going at them down the wings at all. We never really did anything in the final third, in the second half in particular. And I think one of the key things I was hoping for today was that Leon Bailey would pin back Leif Davis, their left back, because Leif Davis is a crucial part of Ipswich's team, and I thought he was good for them again today. But the one time he actually took him on and went at him, he got that assist for Watkins' goal. But other than that, I can't really remember too many occasions where we really worked a good triangle down the wide areas and got a ball in, or too many occasions where the winger did go at them and beat a man. It just all felt a little bit like safe and just too casual, and we got punished for it.
Yeah, I can never tell really with the kind of like the immediacy of doing these post-match reaction shows that, the game finished, half an hour ago or something. And that was maybe had one eye on the telly, one eye on the little one. I feel a bit under the weather. You just come out of it and go, that was crap. Like,
yeah,
we did. Like, I can't really remember anything that we did or anything that we really did well. Like, there was no kind of moment. Like, obviously you've got the 2 goals, but aside from that, there was no the usual kind of, I don't know, comfort that I've had from Villa, I suppose, over the last few weeks of like, oh yeah, well, we'll go a goal down, but we'll get back into it and we'll still be fine. And we'll get a couple of goals and we'll win and everything will be rosy and everyone will be happy. This was just one of those ones that, I don't know whether it's just caught up with us a little bit and we've not been able to get away with it, whether we've got one eye on Bayern Munich on Wednesday and that's kind of, we'll be okay for this one, everybody. We can take our foot off the gas. We're a little bit cocky. Or that we just weren't very good and Ipswich were better than us. I think on the overall balance of play, Ipswich was a better side.
Yeah, I think they probably were. They certainly created more than we did, and we, it'd be interesting to see by the end of the season what this point looks like, because Ipswich, I think, they do look like a team. They've got 4 draws in a row now. They haven't got a win, but they're slowly churning out results, and eventually that win will come. And they've got a few very talented players who might have a high ceiling, like Liam Delap, Murray Hutchinson, a few others. But so maybe by the end of the season, we look back and go, and actually, a point away at Ipswich wasn't that bad a result this season. Maybe they get some big wins. But that said, if Aston Villa do want to be a top 4 team, we just can't be, continuously going behind in games all the time. It's, if we go behind against Manchester United, for instance, next Sunday, and give ourselves an absolute mountain to climb because of a sloppy goal, and a lot of these goals we're conceding off through sloppy mistakes, well, then, it's going to cost us points this season, and eventually might cost us, top 4, top 3, top 2, who knows? And that's the thing. I just think that opposition teams that are competing with us for those, the top spots now, don't really make the kind of mistakes we're making in defence at the moment. I think that's, to me, the biggest concern is just the continuation of this trend of us conceding first, conceding sloppily and just not keeping clean sheets.
Yeah, I think their form at home is what will separate them from maybe staying up and not. But they're not going to be, well, unless they put an unbelievable run together at some point, they're not going to be a top 10 side where we look back and go, oh, well, yeah, draw theirs. That's decent because they've gone on to be very good. But a draw at Portman Road specifically might be a decent result. But it depends on the context of the game. I suppose, obviously, in the last couple of weeks, we've got back and won the game when we probably shouldn't against Wolves. Everton, we've got kind of a +6 there when in years gone by that we don't turn those around. But the fact remains that we keep going behind, as you said. The difference today is that we get back into it and we go ahead and we still don't go on to win the game. That's different to over the last couple of weeks. That normally, I think they flashed up a graphic, didn't they, at some point about once Villa are in ahead, they're one of the best for sticking with the points, whatever it was, 7 points gained or something from losing positions. And that's not done today because we've taken our foot off the gas. The game ends with Ipswich throwing chances at it, and I'm kind of thinking if anyone's going to score another goal here, it's them. We're going to lose this game 3-2. So that's all I was thinking at the end.
Yeah, and I think they had like 3 or 4 corners in a row right at the end, and then injury time.
And it takes one of them to kind of bobble in off somebody, and you go, "Oh, we've thrown this now. We've absolutely thrown it."
Yeah, and I think this is exactly it. And I think some of the substitutions as well. I felt a lot of the subs came on, didn't really do much, but at the same time, I think some of the timing of it was maybe a little off. I thought actually watching Buendia in that last 10 minutes, if you forget the free kick he took when he ballooned it over the bar right in front of the first kick. But I thought other than that, he actually looked like a player trying to make things happen. And I kind of felt like that was what we were lacking a lot today. And I thought actually maybe if Buendia had been on and maybe 10 minutes longer, he might have actually worked something. Because there were 1 or 2 occasions he came close. I think there was a couple of good tackles that stopped Duran getting through. And it was largely coming from Buendia. So I think that was a positive sign to see that he is, he's settling back in quite nicely. And, he got his goal against Wickham as well the other night. But yeah, just generally, like I say, I think, with Villa, if you were to say where is the spot in the squad that looks the most vulnerable, I think all Villa fans would likely agree it's that sort of right back, right centre back area that feels like it doesn't have great depth. And today, the second goal was a real good example of that. I thought the 2 goals we conceded, the first one, Konsa, fast again, like I said, not alive, silly casual mistakes. Anana not tracking back at full speed to cut out the pass to Delap for the first goal, and the second goal, Konsa comes forward, gives the ball away, and then just ball over the top, and Liam Delap has oceans of space to run into, and that's what he's best at. And then Carlos just got absolutely done, didn't he? That little
noise there. That little noise there is every Villa fan watching us defend at the moment. That little like, oh god, like, it feels very Gary Neville-esque. See that ball go over the top, you just go, oh no, like something's going to happen here. But this is what we've seen. This is not unfamiliar from a Villa side, I don't think, to look vulnerable in those positions. And I absolutely give any opposition the respect they deserve to kind of find a way to beat us or get something out of us, because we're a good side now, obviously. But it doesn't take much for us to concede. Like it's not like a beautiful piece of play or a really great bit of trickery or skill. It's really something quite basic, or kind of creating a bit of chaos and us folding a little bit. And that is concerning to me, that this game and this result will not define our season. Obviously, we'll always say, like, if we don't get Europe by 2 points, it'll be the 2 we dropped at Ipswich, but it'll be a million other different variables as well. Obviously, every point counts. However, the trends that I think we're seeing over the last couple of weeks, going behind, conceding sloppy goals, conceding avoidable goals, it's those things that concern me. For not that Villa aren't beating Ipswich at Portman Road, that means equals they won't finish top 4. It's that Villa looks sloppy in defence, give goals away too easily. That's what tells me we may not get top 4. Like, yes, we're great going forward, we'll score goals, but we've said all along, Villa can't just get by scoring 2 or 3 every game, because at some point that luck will run out, and that is today. It'll be next week against United, like you say. They go 1-0 up, 2-0 up. Villa won't score 2 or 3 to win every single game in that fashion. It's those trends that concern me more than anything, that we're too easy to play against in some ways. Like, you've got to be hard to beat. Whether that means making us a bit more boring, like, I don't want to kind of compromise on our principles or stop us scoring loads of goals and being exciting and getting bums off seats. We can't keep conceding goals. We can't not get clean sheets if you want to finish in the top 4, 5, 6 of the table.
Absolutely. And, like if Bayern Munich or look at that, and you look at the number of goals they score. Teams like that are just going to come and pick that apart. You make a mistake against a side like that, you will just get punished immediately. And it's a sort of continuation. It sounds a little bit like I'm being a bit more. I'm way more negative than usual. I just found that performance really frustrating. I think Aston Villa are so much better than that. And but I think that the goal issue is that it feels like a continuation of a trend that's been happening since around. Do you remember the Old Trafford game last season when we were 2-up and they came back and won 3-2, and then we played Burnley and we conceded twice and won 3-2? And it feels like since then there's been a lot of games where Villa have gone 2-0 ahead or even 3-0 ahead against Nottingham Forest back in February, and teams come back and score 1 or 2. It's like like Brentford as well when we're 2-0 up and they came back and made it 3-2 and we ended 3-3. And again, it was like they just upped their intensity level and Villa didn't really match it. Yeah. I don't know whether it just feels at times where in game we're just not able to quite pick up the pace when we probably need to, whether there's a player on there who can guide us and go, like, look, come on, everybody, just every now and again, just something as basic as like just scream at somebody and say, like, come on, lads, I'll just wake up now, right? I don't know. It just feels like that trend at the moment has continued into this season with the goals conceded. And as we both said, it will eventually cost us. But look, I mean, if we have an incredible manager in Unai Emery, and if there's anybody who can look at it and fix it, he's probably the man to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a terrible Aston Villa side that are going to finish mid-table, but there's just a couple of concerning trends that Villa need to put right basically as soon as possible. Otherwise, they will get left behind. In terms of that first goal, what do you put that down to? Is that a goalkeeper error, or is it defensive calamity, or is it everything?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both. I think in fairness to Martinez, he did pull off some outstanding saves in the first half as well, but he'd probably say to himself he could have done better with it. But I probably put that down to it felt like the ball had been up there a while and Villa had multiple chances to get rid of it, and we just didn't. And then Konsa makes a really sloppy pass, gets cut out, and then Onana, I think if you watch the highlight back, Onana should probably be a bit more aware of where the ball might be cut back to with Delap and get in the space to block it off. Instead, he's kind of jogging. He's not. And again, it's like you look at Onana and Konsa both that situation. You think they're both in a bit of it's that fine line, composed and casual, and it just looked a little casual. I'm not saying that's what they were playing like, but it just looked, in that one moment that it's like not quite at it at the moment. Villa. It says a lot about us that we still come back and still score 2 goals. It says just a lot about how good Villa really are. It's just that if we can cut out these sorts of goals we've been conceding recently, like that, the first goal today, particularly, I think I'm veering more towards thinking the defenders should have just done a lot better and got rid of it, basically.
Yeah, we'll talk about our goals in a second. Let's just focus a little bit on Konsa and Diego Carlos. We say Konsa is our best centre half, and he's probably at the moment our best right back as well, and that's obviously a problem. So he can't play in both positions. But still, time and time again, as good as he looks sometimes at right back, I always just think I'd much prefer him in the middle. And maybe that's because it's kind of an anti-Diego Carlos thing, because he's clearly a problem. I want Konsa playing there because I don't want Carlos playing there. But he's a better centre-back. He's a right-sided centre-half. That is his position. And I think I'm now at the point, I asked this to John, so you can answer it as well. Would you rather have Carlos in centre-half and Konsa right-back, or Konsa centre-half and a young player at right-back and an experienced player like a Bogard or an Adelkovic, but someone who is actually, that's their position? It's not Bogart's position, really. I mean, I think the answer that we got to in the end was that bring back Matty Cash. That solves a problem. As much as he's not the most popular and he's not the best right back ever, it puts Konsa back at centre half, and you're the most experienced right back at the club. I think that's our best option at the moment.
Yeah, I think we're all sort of counting down the days of Matty Cash being back, I think, and just sort adding a little bit more balance there. But I think the only question mark I have is because I think we all want to see Konsa at centre back. I am veering towards wondering whether it should be Carlos and Konsa against Bayern, just because they have a bit more experience. And I slightly fear putting the young guys in at right back against like a Gnabry and a Musiala. So I can understand. Yeah, exactly. So, but I really rate Nedeljkovic from everything I've seen of him, and he was nervous when he came on against West Ham. Against Arsenal, I think he did well against Martinelli, and he got a little bit of a lesson off Trossard. He's played twice for Serbia since. I don't know whether today might have just been a game to balance up the minutes a bit. 3 big games coming this week. Maybe could start a Maatsen and could start a Nedeljkovic at the 2 fullback options, and then if Dean's going to start on Wednesday night as well, and against Manchester United, and I just wondered whether today might have been one for Nedeljkovic to come in and just have a go, because I don't know. It just feels like he is a natural right back. He's a more natural right back than Bogard. I'm sure Emery has his reasons, and like Emery's there every day in training. He knows, but I don't know. I just there's a little part of me that just kind of wishes we'd seen a bit more of Nedeljkovic recently while Matty Cash has been out.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments saying we need Mings back ASAP. That fixed the problem. Mings is Pau Torres is understudy now, isn't he? He's the left-sided centre back. We're talking on the right side. You can't play Mings and Mings and Pau Torres next to each other, can you? I don't think.
And I think the best thing with Mings coming back is that it can help balance up the minutes with Pau as well. Like Pau plays a lot. He's one of our most crucial players. He's a brilliant player, ball playing particularly. But I think it'd be like games, where you can go. Pau plays 60 minutes today, and we can bring Mings on for the final 30. Maybe Mings today, who knows? Maybe he'd come on and he might be that character who just screams and shouts, gets everyone a bit more awake and alive to the way the situation is within the game. He is just that sort of leader character, isn't he? He's very vocal and physically active. So it'd be great to have Mings back as a squad option. We all love Tyrone Mings. He's a fantastic servant to Villa. I just love the man. But I'm not sure it solves the problem, but it's certainly good to just have another option at centre back, because it just looks like an area where at the moment, if there is an injury to either Powell or Konsa, we look really, really light.
Yeah, there's a couple of more comments about Mings, so I'm going to save that. Ask us in the Q&A for tomorrow, because I don't want to get into it now because we're here all day. I want to talk about our goals and then go to me to be perfectly honest with you. So let's start with our first one then. Morgan Rogers, couple of assists last week, gets a goal this week to start to add to his GA contributions, because he's been brilliant this season. Everyone only cares about goals and assists, so he's starting to get those now. When we say about our goals being errors, I mean, almost in a way, I think Rushton said this once, that every goal in football is an error from somebody somewhere, but some are more kind of blindingly obvious than others. But they should clear the ball better as well for our first goal, to just kind of boot it back into your own penalty area and give it back to Rodgers and Watkins, basically. I think whoever the commentator was picked up on like the quick feet of them both, the training drills, the little rondos and whatever. They're so quick, they're so alert to the situation, and the finish is excellent. And that's just kind of, you kind of shrug your shoulders, don't you, and go, well, yeah, that's what these guys do.
Yeah. It shows the brutality of the Premier League. One mistake and you just get punished. It's the standard is just so high. And it was a great take from Rodgers. It was a really good interchange between him and Watkins. Another assist for Watkins as well, and a really good finish. He had like basically the blue wall, didn't he? Like the sea of the entirety of Ipswich Town seemingly jumped in his way. And got the ball over them and finished it. So took his chance really good. And it's one of them where I think with Rodgers, he seems to me like a little bit like Watkins. Is probably like once he gets one goal, then all the goals start to come. And I wouldn't be surprised now if he might go on a bit of a goal scoring run for Villa.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jacob agrees. I mean, it's just a harsh lesson for him. He's new to the Premier League, and he'll look back on that with a lot of embarrassment. I'd imagine it was a terrible clearance.
Yeah, I'd back Rodgers to score against Bayern, by the way. That's my prediction for midweek.
I like it.
Watkins, an assist, then goes on to get his goal. And again, I think we said off air before we started, he shouldn't really be having that header unchallenged either from Tuanzebe and whoever the other centre half was. He's just got all the time in the world to pick his spot. It's a great ball in from Bailey, heads it back to the side that it's come from. And again, it's kind of classic Ollie Watkins. We've seen him score it before. We've seen him do it before. We've seen him go through these patches of not scoring and then scoring. Is it 4 in 3 now? I think for him, which is again kind of standard stuff. But that thing I've just said about every goal is an error. He should be not unchallenged at all for that goal. So as much as we're like, oh yeah, Watkins and Rodgers score, like happy days, they come from Ipswich not kind of defending very well, and their goals come from us not defending very well. Like both sides will come into that thinking, well, we've conceded avoidable goals today.
Yeah, definitely. I think the second goal, I think the best thing with it is, as I mentioned earlier, I felt like Villa didn't take players on enough down the wide areas. I thought that it was the one occasion where Bailey really went at Leif Davis. Davis, as good as he is going forward, he does look a little. He's like he's getting a little bit used to the Premier League defensively, I think, on 1 or 2 occasions this season. And brilliant ball from Bailey. Shows the quality that Villa have, that we can just pull that out. And Watkins, yeah, you would say the defenders, they'd look back on that and go, we should have, physically got, tried to make it harder for him. It was for Watkins, it was a fairly simple header, I guess, for a player of his quality. But as you say, I think all the defenses today will look at the goals conceded and go,
yeah, we can do better there. Just overall, one of those games where no one from a Villa perspective really plays well. I was going to flash up our NordVPN man of the match, but who'd you pick really? Like Rodgers, I suppose, played well, gets his goal, but ultimately it's a game where we could go through it and say that everybody should be better. That is not the standard required to finish top 4. I don't think if we keep playing like that. Certainly defensively has to improve somehow. I was just flicking through the stats things. I saw a comment that we didn't have a corner. By kind of default, I thought that can't be right. Yeah, 0 corners to Ipswich's 10, which, to be fair, as you said, I think they had 3 maybe right at the end. So that skews it ever so slightly because they're absolutely piling on the pressure. But for Villa, for a side to have so much quality going forward, to be able to pop off shots against the keeper, should be getting down the wings, putting balls in, having them deflected to go out for corners. Like Bailey should be attacking his side, and that's how it should go. For Villa not to get a single corner is quite alarming, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was it. There was a point in the second half where I thought, I feel like Villa have been all over Ipswich here. I feel like we've controlled this for about 20 minutes, but we haven't done a single thing in the final third. And there's a couple of games last season that were a little bit like that. Like I feel like Bournemouth away, that was also a 2-2 last season, where Watkins got a late-headed goal. And then 3 days later, we went and beat Man City 1-0 and then went beating Arsenal 1-0. So hopefully we can repeat that this week. Go beat Bayern Munich and beat Man United in a week. That'd be special. I think it reminded me a little of that game, just in the sense I remember it being one where Villa couldn't really do anything in the final third, just weren't really, it just none of the rhythm and, just no like clever triangles being worked between the winger and the fullback. And maybe if Conser, if Matty Cash is there, for instance, maybe that could help because he's a bit more of a progressive player than Conser, and Conser's a bit more of a solid centre back than Carlos, I think. So that could have made a slight difference. But overall, no, I think attacking wise, we were just below the level really today, like far below what we are capable of for sure.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the Ipswich goalkeeper making any saves really of quality. Martinez obviously made that one with his foot, the kind of World Cup winning-esque save, the same kind of pose position, outstretched like a starfish, and the one that the kind of diving one to his left was a good save. Kind of raving about it, but again, I kind of think, Martinez, I've seen him do it millions of times. It's not that good. Just quickly, how's Morsey not get sent off?
Absolutely no earthly idea. I don't tend to like focus on referees very often. I just feel like it's a sort of dead end conversation really. But I think that today there were quite a few occasions where I thought, it kind of weirdly pernickety or inconsistent. And then Morsey, he's committed about 3 fouls after his yellow that you'd say that's borderline or has crossed the line. And then eventually the one he does on Philogene where he comes right over the top of him, it's a blatant second yellow. It should definitely have been a red card.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand what Atwell was doing. Maybe you could argue Villa's players should have surrounded him. Maybe we could have been a bit more cute in that way and just got around him and got in his face and said, like, look, but then again, like referees just seem to book you anyway.
Would have booked all of them,
yeah. So, but yeah, I think Morsey should have gone, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd have been the beneficiaries of it, so we're not going to complain too much. But even if it was given as a straight red, I wouldn't have been like massive complaints about it. You could have said, that's maybe a touch soft for that. But if he's not already been booked, it's 1,000,000% a yellow card. I really hate that when a player has been booked and they don't get the second one for things that absolutely would be one if they were not on one. It's such a weird inconsistency that you find all the time. Oh, you've already been booked. Oh, for some reason, you're allowed to get away with way more than you normally would. It's 100% a second yellow. And it's, again, maybe it changes things, maybe it doesn't. But I'd much rather finish that game playing against 10 men. I mean, Ipswich would have maybe sat off rather than they were coming on to us. So maybe that does change the result. It's just a really weird annoyance in football for me that once you've already had a yellow card, you just don't seem to get the second one. Commit GBH. Go on then. Why not? We'll allow it.
Yeah,
Madness.
Stone cold stunner, rock bottom. You do it. It's just it was frustrating. I think, to be fair, like Morgan Rogers probably got away with not getting booked as well. I think he had about 3 sloppy fouls.
That's true. Actually, to be fair.
And again, it's like, just, I don't know. I just thought he, like, and then one occasion we came over and looked at the corner taker, Jack Clark, being on the ball, and again, it was like, what are you doing, mate? Like, actually mentioning Jack Clark, I thought he was quite good today. I don't know where these Grealish clones are coming from. There's Tyler Dibbling at Southampton as well, and 1 or 2 others who all have the low socks, the long hair. I feel like if I put on low socks, little shin pads, and grow my hair long enough, maybe I'll just somehow turn into Jack Grealish style footballer. Maybe if we all do it, we turn into that exact profile of player. Just
maybe. I feel like the thing that would let me down there was growing the hair. That'd be the issue. I could probably do all the rest, but I don't know if I could get the hair. Right, we'll wrap it up there. We've almost done half an hour. Frankie, thank you very much for joining me. And thanks to everyone for watching along live with this one. I know Spurs Man United is on at the moment, so thanks everyone for choosing to watch us instead of that rubbish. We'll be back on Monday tomorrow for our weekly Q&A. That'll be me and John Townley for that one. Tuesday, I'll announce who that is now, because I've teased it a couple of times. We've got our interview podcast with Darren Fletcher, the TNT Sports commentator. Matt Kendrick did that one. That's like a preview, basically, for Bayern Munich, looking ahead to the big midweek game, which is a really good episode. We filmed it Friday. I edited it yesterday. It's really, really worth kind of half an hour, 35 minutes of your time. But first, the Q&A tomorrow. Frankie, thank you for joining me. I'm going to go and have my food because I'm starting to get a sweat on. Nobody needed to know that, but I feel very uncomfortable before the comments start. I've been in the wars over the last week or so. But thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Claret and Blue, and we'll catch you on the Q&A tomorrow. Bye-bye.